from the Wall Street
Yeah.
narrative, are your graphs showing you any other narrative clusters that are particularly insightful or that you're paying attention to and you think that others should be
I
watching?
mean, so what we try to look at are, I'll call them micro narratives. That's the Wall Street drum beating, right? That's every thematic idea you've ever been pitched, and it's the subject matter of 98% of the content on CNBC, right? Is what I'll call is a micro narrative. There are also macro narratives that are constructed, right? So one macro narrative is, well, what's the central bank narrative, right? Is it a hawkish? Is it a Fed put narrative? Is it we're looking at inflation and we don't care narrative, right? There are about 5 what we call narrative regimes around central banks, and right now we're in this narrative regime of the way that everyone is talking about central banks, the Fed, and the way the Fed talks about itself is around the language of inflation. That is generally market positive, right? You can go back and see in history when this regime has existed, and typically the next month, the market's up 2%. It's a pretty big impact, frankly, right? Another one, we track is how the market talks about itself in terms of what matters, right? Is it focused on technicals? Is it focused on valuation? Is it focused on fundamentals, which is a little different than being focused on value, right? But it's talking about fundamentals. And right now we have this transition into a fundamentals focus, and that is typically, that can be not as good for markets, right? If the news flow, if the fundamentals news flow, so what do I mean by fundamentals? It's talking about things like, what's the jobs number, right? What's is the economy bouncing back with growth, right? Those are the questions that are really dominating how the market talks about itself today. And so long as the news flow is good, that's constructive. But when the news flow ain't so good, like we've got an election in 60 days where you could have a constitutional crisis that we've never, where we haven't seen this country in 150 years. That's
Has
not
the
so
election
constructive.
entered in the zeitgeist in terms of price action, as far as you can measure from your narrative machine? Are the markets paying enough attention, or is this still led by the narrative of inflation?
So what you've seen dominating the kind of the macro narrative has been questions about COVID, right? For obvious reasons, and what we're seeing over the last 2 days, this is a non-COVID related correction, right? I very much believe it's because people looking forward 60 days to an election, not because it's, Biden might be elected, or it's not who, but it's, are we going to have a functioning transition of power?
Uncertainty around the election. There's a lot of
going to happen
around this,
right? You see this in in the VIX curve. You're seeing really elevated VIX levels, out around the election. I don't think it's elevated enough. So, you're going to have spot, catching up to that. That's what I think is going on.
You've got some pretty neat graphics or charts or something that you typically show too, right? Have you got do any of those sort of help to illustrate the story, or are they kind of confusing at the moment?
It's the sort of thing we need a good half hour, to really do it justice. Otherwise, it's just kind of, that's cool. We got some which I'm happy to show. I mean, I love showing cool stuff, but it would just make everybody. I think this is just kind of showing some of the, what it is we do, and I've got some cool maps. But let me pull something else up. This let me see if we've still got this up on our screen. Oh yeah, so
now that's what I'm talking about.
This is what you're talking about, right?
Cool
I mean,
yeah, look at that.
So it looks so cool, right? Well, this is the Tesla narrative, right? So this is in 2019. All the articles that were published about Tesla, and so if you zoom in on this, it's comprised of about 6,000 little dots, and each little dot is a separate, unique article about Tesla in major publication in the U.S. And then it's a what's called unsupervised search. So it's comparing every word in every article to every other word in every other article, which is a factorial. So it's like a couple of trillion calculations. And then this is a map that shows the similarity in language, the similarity in word choice and grammatical structures, so that the computer, clusters all the articles and shows the connections between them. And the way you read a map like this is you're looking for centrality. What's the stuff right here in the middle of the map? Because this is where the gravity is really coming from. You know what all these articles are right here in the middle of the map? Elon Musk tweets, right? And this is at the core of the narrative around the company. And it's the Cybertruck is this a big one here. The Tesla semi-electric, all of these kind of central narratives are about kind of big ideas. Oh, we're going to do car insurance. That's a really central one right here. Oh, what's the Tesla Model 3 performance? And way over here, off in the side, you've got stock market stuff. Right? You've got company stuff, which, like I say, is kind of a negative. That's off to the side. You've got Tesla short sellers way out here. Why Tesla stock fell. It's all in the periphery of this narrative map, and that's really meaningful, right? So what's useful here is trying to understand what's at the core of a narrative, and it really lets you visualize that. I'll show you.
What clusters are migrating toward the center, or what ones are moving more toward the edges, and what does that say about how the stock is likely to react to news and the type of news
exactly
it's react to?
You need to start thinking about memes and narratives as living creatures, right? And you put them under. It's like getting a drop of water and putting it underneath, a microscope in the 1700s, and you look through the microscope and says, "Oh my God, there are things living in there." It's really like that, because then you track over time how a narrative is born and how it lives and how it dies. I tell you, every year when I look at this, these Elon Musk tweets are always at the core of it. He's really good at controlling the narrative. He's really good at this, right? I mean, I think he's a kind of a sociopath, right? But he's really good at this stuff. Right?
Amazing. Yeah.
I'll show you. This won't look as pretty because I've just got it on PowerPoint, or I think I've got it on a PDF. Let's see if I can pull this up. Tesla this year. Yeah, this doesn't look as pretty, but I'll bring it up here and see if I can zoom in on it. All right, what I was showing you before was 2019. This is year to date 2020. And let me zoom in here a little bit. Here we go. All right, still got Elon Musk tweets right there in the middle, right? It's still
central.
Right, that's right. But look at how this whole map is. There's really no center to it, right? I mean, this is what I mean. There is no narrative anymore about Tesla, the company, right? You've got the car stuff, right? It's way over here. It's no longer in the middle. It's way over here to the side. All this stuff around here is Tesla, the stock price. All this stuff is, Tesla, the stock price. Analyst worried, Tesla stock, So there is no
it's
there.
Way more
there.
Financialized than the previous map. The previous map was much more about the company and what the company was doing.
The company are the big ideas, right? Oh, yeah, we can do car insurance. Why not? Yeah, yeah, autonomous driving. Yeah, of course we can do that, right? This is
a matter of reflexivity. This is the market watching the market.
This is the market watching the market. There's no there, except for Elon Musk tweets.
Right.
Anyway, so that's the kind of stuff we do, and both on
beautiful
kind of fun stuff like Tesla, but also the business of Wall Street, which is to make up stories and sell you shit. That's our bread and butter.
And you derive portfolio decisions based on a lot of this narrative machine?
Yeah, I mean, much less so. I'll call it the idiosyncratic stuff. I mean, this is for, if you've got a big position in Tesla, you want to know this stuff. But I don't have a systematic strategy around Tesla. We've absolutely got a systematic strategy around the drum beating of Wall Street, right? Because what happens is that what you're creating is the how to say this, the advertising model, because that's basically what we're saying. We're saying Wall Street's an advertiser, right? And so whatever you want to look at, we like to look at S&P 500 sectors, right? So month to month S&P sectors. If you start seeing, there's not a lot of drum beating yet, but what drum beating there is, it's really positive coming out of financial media. Well, that's a potential snowball that's still at the top of the hill. I want to be long that. It's what we'd call an emerging narrative. When stuff gets, high, what we call the structure of narrative, the attention, the drum beating, the focus, and the negative sentiment, that's when we want to be short, right? So it's a sector rotation strategy where we look at, every sector and figure out these behavioral signals to go long or short. So yeah, that's what we put together into portfolios. That's what we put together in portfolios, a systematic strategy.
Is there any sort of general sense, as you said, you want to get sort of long the positive news or the positive drumbeat? Mm-hmm. Is there any sort of signals in there that are counterintuitive that were not what you expected? I suppose is what I'm asking. Areas where that to me is somewhat intuitive, like, okay, you're there ahead of the news. Was there anything in that sine curve that you felt was, wow, this was kind of an interesting point in the narrative that was unexpected?
Well, I think what's interesting to us is how powerful these are, regardless of what all is happening in the world, right? It's just the day-to-day business of, like say, Wall Street and financial media to be coming up with these stories. And it's just the life cycle of these stories. It really is like an organism. And it's just like clockwork. There's always got to be a new story to get people to buy more stuff.
Sorry, I thought you were going to say like cockroaches. That would have worked too.
Yeah, that worked too. That works too.
But I suppose there's
every.
Go ahead.
But frankly, to your point, I mean, it's been very important for us that what we did. We started with the behavioral models. We started with our idea of how the world works, because, and you guys know this. I mean, the ability to kind of try to do your data fitting and backfitting on this stuff is, it's just once you start going down that path, it's like the noble lie, right? You kind of construct this stuff that works, right? But it's gotta. I'd much rather have something that, I don't know how it's going to work, but this is how I think the world actually behaves, and so that's what we're going with.
Great,
awesome,
love this. Thanks, Ben. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me show it. No, I appreciate it.
That was awesome.
Great.
We're at an hour and 40 minutes now. You get us every
go,
time,
man. I got to start drinking.
Yeah, exactly. Drinking.
Yeah.
Faster, you mean, right?
Faster. Exactly.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much for all your time. Yeah,
thanks for having me on, guys. It's such a blast. Always
this is awesome, Ben.
No, thank you guys.
Or Neb, I'm not sure who we had.
No. It's all Ben right now. Yeah. We keep Mr. Hyde, locked away as much as we can.